Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Galley, and I'm an instructional program leader with the School Programs Department for the Halton District School Board. In my role, I have the pleasure of supporting co-op guidance and student success educators and helping to create and lead initiatives that support student pathway planning. One of those initiatives has been this pathway planning series. We're so glad that you're here tonight. This is actually the 8th installment in a series that started last year. And essentially each month we pick a topic that helps to support secondary students and families as they navigate what can often feel like the complex world of pathway planning. Tonight, our focus is on community being the classroom and exploring cooperative education. We have a really interesting night ahead planned for you. Not only will you get to hear from HDSB Co-op teachers, but we've also got current HDSB Co-op students and employers that will also be here sharing some insight into their co-op experiences. So thank you so much for being here. We really look forward to the night ahead. As we all do in the Halton District School Board, we will start with our land acknowledgement. We begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which HDSB is situated is on the ancestral, treaty, and tidal lands of the Anishinaabeg Ojibwe, Michizagi Nation, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Michizagi territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties and responsibilities, and Indigenous rights, while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land. And the connection that I wanted to make this evening is around a previous session that we've done as part of this pathway planning series, specifically on supporting Indigenous, Black, racialized, and 2S and LGBTQ+ student success. The session took place on December 3rd, and it featured a variety of speakers, both from our Human Rights, Equity, and Inclusive Education team, as well as our Indigenous Rights and Education team, and various post-secondary partners who talked about supports for students as they transition from high school to post-secondary opportunities. And specifically, it talked about the importance of recognizing student identity and providing supports, whether that be financial, scholarships, bursaries, post-secondary exploration opportunities, and other supports to ensure that students have all of those pathways open to them. If you didn't have an opportunity to view that session, you can find it on the Transition to Post-Secondary page. All the recordings will be available there, including this one, and I would definitely encourage you to watch it if you didn't have a chance to do so. So here's our virtual session agenda for tonight. We are going to talk about a few of the key live stream need to knows. We're also going to talk a little bit about what student pathway planning is all about. Then we'll have an opportunity to explore the cooperative education program and understand what are all of the different pieces that are involved in the implementation of that program in our schools. Then we'll move to what will absolutely be the highlight of our session, our HDSB Co-op student and employer panel. We'll talk about some supporting resources and then get to our viewer questions. And we wanted to remind you that if you do have questions, please use the link or scan the QR code that you see on your screen to submit your questions during the presentation. So the link is bit.ly/co-op-education26. And again, you can use the QR code to get access to the question form. Thank you again to all of the participants that have already submitted questions. We look forward to receiving questions throughout the presentation. In terms of access to the live stream recording, again, this will be posted on the Transition to Post-Secondary page on hdsb.ca, usually about a week with following the actual live session tonight. And when viewing the recording, again, you'll be able to select a preferred language using the closed captioning feature. So when it comes to education and career life planning, this may be a graphic that some of you have seen before. It comes from creating pathways to success. And essentially, it speaks to the questions that students ask themselves throughout their educational career. through experiences they have, courses they take, extracurriculars that they pursue, volunteer opportunities that students try, and other important programs and life events, students start to form an understanding of who they are and what they want for their future. And specifically, it's these 4 questions that they answer over the course of their high school career. Who am I? What are my opportunities? Who do I want to become? What is my plan for achieving my goals? Every school in the Halton District School Board provides targeted opportunities for students to answer these questions and begin to plan for their post-secondary destination. And without a doubt, we know that co-op is a critical part of being able to answer those questions. So what are the post-secondary pathways? Well, post-secondary pathways really help, or we can define them effectively by talking about the courses, the experiences, the programs, and the opportunities that may lead a student to their first destination after high school graduation. And we talk about their first destination because we recognize it's very common for students to explore more than one post-secondary destination over the course of their career. We know that those destinations are apprenticeship, college, community, university, and work. And in the Halton District School Board, every post-secondary pathway is equally valued. And again, you're going to hear tonight about cooperative education, which really allows students in any of these pathways to fully explore the possibilities that await them in their future. To set the stage a little bit for tonight, I just wanted to make reference to a report that comes from the organization Brainstorm, and specifically it's their student interest report. Brainstorm is a purpose-driven enterprise that helps post-secondary institutions and employers advance student success. And they did a survey with over 25,000 responses from students at over 200 different post-secondary institutions across Canada. One of the questions on that survey was, what should your school teach or provide more of to better prepare you for the world of work? And you'll see that the number one answer that came from respondents, with 44% of them responding, real experience in the workplace. This is what students, regardless of their pathway, are looking for: to build meaningful networks, to learn, to better understand the realities of life beyond high school. And cooperative education, absolutely, in our high schools is the answer to that opportunity. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to our HDSB Co-op teacher team. We have 3 fantastic teachers that are here tonight. I'm going to let them introduce themselves as they start to speak, and I will pass it over to them to share more about cooperative education.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Brona O'Rourke. I'm one of the co-op teachers at Elsie McGill Secondary School in Milton. I just wanted to share a little bit about why a student might consider co-op. So when we're thinking about students who are considering this is a grade 11 and 12 program. So when we're thinking about the pathways that Lisa has just mentioned, it is an opportunity for every student in every pathway to explore, get an opportunity to earn those high school credits out in the community, where students, as you just saw in the previous slide, are looking for more of that world experience, getting out there in the workplace, trying things out. So the people who are considering this can be for every student, learning need, lots of different options there for them to explore. And really they're looking to develop those transferable skills and then experience and exposure to the field that they might be interested in, or an adjacent field that they might have not even considered before. So we're thinking about why they might consider it. That's what some of the reasons are: trying to gain experience, build access to different on resumes and applications, and also just get out there and try something new. A lot of students as well really want to be out and be exploring outside of the school building. So that's why someone might consider it. And then when we're thinking about what the co-op can offer your student, or you, if you're here listening to this, the idea of the co-op, so it is a 2-credit experience. So students are usually out in the morning or in the afternoon, and they're looking towards 2 credits towards their diploma or their certificate. The idea of this really is to develop skills and competencies for the future. So when we're thinking about students who are enrolled in co-op programs, they will be able to have experiences and skills to make them competitive, make them stand out to employers, make them try new things, and also give them that ability to reflect on who they are as a student student and as a young professional, and they're able to experiences in co-op. In addition to that, and you'll hear from some great mentors and professionals here today that support our programs, they really do develop some really great mentoring relationships and the ability to network throughout their field or field of interest. So that in itself is invaluable for students going into the workplace. I know we can all attest to how challenging it is for people these days to get part-time jobs. So having that mentorship and that network, being able to begin to form that in a young part in their career, that is a really good benefit for students. And then the other part, in addition to all those skills, is if you have your student applying to any sort of post-secondary programs, and those programs might have some supplementary application forms, so maybe an interview, an essay, some questions, all of those things. Co-op really shines in those experiences, so students can get to speak about how they've gone above and beyond our traditional high school experience, to be able to talk about what they did, the accomplishments they have, and the reflection on their time in industry before they even left the high school. That's really some of the best opportunities that students can get from the program.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Rulo. So my role with the board is I am the summer school co-op coordinator. I'm also during first semester, I'm a transportation teacher at Abbey Park, one of our schools. So the question I have on the slide here is, what does co-op look like within a student semester? So within a regular school semester, students can either take a 2-credit co-op in the morning, or they would take a 2 co-op credit in the afternoon. So it would reflect what the school's regular periods look like. So a morning co-op would take place during period 1 and 2. And then an afternoon co-op, if they were signed up in that, would take place during the last 2 periods, whether it be 4 or 5 or 3 or 4, whichever way the school's set up. The other option students have is they can take a full day or a 4-credit co-op. It says there in the slide, this is commonly used for students that are in the skilled trades, only because a lot of the times they'll go out with a journey person. And so they'll leave in the morning with that journey person in the morning. They'll go work an actual full day with the journey person and then be returned back to the school. So that's why the 4-credit kind of fits that one better. On the bottom there, it just makes note that, like I said, all placements, the timelines will line up with what happens at the school that your student's at. The next one here. So where do students go and how do they get there? So essentially co-op can take place anywhere. It's often referred to as test driving your future. So we encourage students that they're looking for an area or a field that they want to get into, and they want to actually try it out. Of those environments, we obviously want to look for places that are provide safe educational and supportive opportunities and learning for the students. And we also have to sort of keep in mind the accessibility of how a student is going to get to that placement. So again, whether it be a morning co-op placement or an afternoon co-op placement, students have to figure out a way that they're able to actually get to that placement in the morning, whether they're going to take public transport or they're going to have a family member or guardian drop them off the placement. Then they also have to make sure that they're able to get back to school for their other courses. So if there's a lunch period in between there, they have that time to travel back from their placement in the morning to get to school so they can do their afternoon courses, or vice versa. If they're taking an afternoon co-op course, they would then have to make sure that they can somehow get to that placement in the afternoon in order to do the co-op placement in the afternoon. Again, we kind of put that on the students to find a way there, but they can also work with their teachers and whatnot at the schools to arrange ways to get there.
Thanks, Mark. I'm Kevin Kokeris, a co-op teacher at Milton District High School. So you may be wondering how a student finds an employer. We try to make the entire experience of co-op an experiential learning experience, right from how to market yourself to an employer, connecting with community placements, and turning the whole thing into a learning journey. Typically, students pick their own placements, and the teachers there to help them offer guidance. We do have past employers that we've used in the past that we can offer as recommendations. And there's also community organizations like the Halton Industry Education Council that works closely with the HDSB in order to help students find very high-level co-op experiences. The graphic here just sort of shows you that like co-op is available and should be for everybody, every single pathway. Sometimes folks feel that it is just for somebody going to university or college or apprenticeship. It's for anybody and everybody. We've had students do all sorts of incredible things across a variety of different placements in the community at different levels. So you may be wondering if a placement can be virtual. Oh, this is not my slide. Sorry.
Yes. You may also be wondering, as Kevin mentioned, if a placement can be virtual. So this is a lot of the questions we get, especially after COVID and the experience that we saw a lot of industries shifting. Just like with industry, when we're thinking about our programming, we definitely also had to shift to meet industry needs and trends that are happening. So definitely in co-op, we have the ability to support virtual placements, and we have specific guidelines in order to do so. So when we have a student who approaches us as teachers and says, I'm looking for a virtual placement, some industries, this is more common than others. Some, this is all that they offer, right? So we have to be able to support those students and those needs. I will say that virtual placements in particular do have their own set of needs, and the student has to be quite driven and focused because it does require a lot of self-discipline. Great opportunity to learn, especially if that's an industry they're trying to get into. But when we're thinking about virtual placements, every one of them has to meet the guidelines that are set out by the HDSB for both the student requirements and the employers. In addition, once the student is maybe successful or has applied to a virtual placement, there will need to be a review of guidelines to make sure that the learning experience is valuable and the student has someone that they can connect to. And in addition, that all companies that are connected to co-op as a whole program, virtual or not, have to be compliant with the Ontario Employment Standards Act. So regardless if they're virtual or not, the idea of meeting those standards to make sure our students are safe, make sure that it's a valuable learning experience is something that we can do, but definitely can be supported in the right circumstances. And then when it comes to the structure of the program, the semestered structure looks like the following. So when we have a student who's doing it in school year and they are working at a 2-credit co-op, either in the morning or in the afternoon, what happens is during the first 2 to 2.5 weeks, it's what's called pre-placement. So the idea of these, the structured time is to really create a base of knowledge for our students. So what that does is it allows co-op teachers to not only get to know the students, allow them to search for placements like Kevin was mentioning, go through the process of applying, prepping for an interview, doing all those things. But in addition, we try to give a base of knowledge so that everyone is kind of entering the workplace informed. So we talk about things like health and safety, workers' rights, especially as a young worker, it's very important. We look at strategies, workplace etiquette, professionalism, etc. And then when we move into the placement piece, so we talked about before, the structure is they're at work for chunks of time. That usually happens in the 3rd or 4th week of the semester. After that, when students are working, they're out kind of getting in a rhythm. We do pull students back throughout the semester for what's called integration days. These days are a chance for us to get back to the classroom and really put some intentional reflection into what they've been doing at work. They have a chance to reconnect with their peers, maybe set or update some goals, and then jump back into their placement the next day, really with like a refreshed sense of, okay, this is what I'm doing, and getting back into the rhythm of their workplace. And just like with any other course in our school, there is a final 30 component to the course. And this really helps us kind of bring together all the learning that's happened throughout the semester. So what that could look like, depending on the program, there could be what's called a mastery task or a demonstration of learning at work. This is probably my favorite part of a whole co-op piece. You see students confidently completing tasks that they're really proud of. They've made a lot of growth throughout the semester, and they're really trying to show it off. And then sometimes students will do presentations. They might do an exit interview with their teacher. They might be doing portfolios. They update resumes. Basically, all the things in that final 30 component are to bring everything to a close, get students to reflect on their experience, see what they've accomplished, and then think about how am I going to bring that forward into my next step.
You may be wondering about the safety when you have students outside of the classroom. We take safety extremely seriously, and every placement is vetted by the co-op teacher with a guideline to follow to ensure that the placement is as safe as can be. It's an extension of school, so obviously we want everyone coming home feeling well and safe. So teacher does an initial safety assessment. Then specific safety training is done by the employer. And there's also documentation to track all of that. Students and employers will have the teacher come out and visit regularly and sort of ensure that the student is following along with all protocols and everything's going well. In regards to evaluation, so it's ultimately the teacher who is monitoring the student along with getting feedback from employers and supervisors. So that's based on the experience itself, students doing reflections, reflecting on their work, setting goals for themselves. I like to say to my students that co-op is like driver's education. We put you in the driver's seat, and then your supervisor and your teacher are there to monitor and push you to do your absolute best and to challenge you along the way to learn new skills. We can always grab the wheel and help you along. So the students will create what's called a learning plan and set their own goals, which is pretty cool. And then with guidance by the supervisor and teacher to set those bars really high, and then monitor their learning in a term portfolio. So when they leave co-op, they'll have a beautiful portfolio that they can bring with them to any future job experience or application. There are required assignments during the term. And like Brona was saying, there is a culminating final performance tasks. How will you know if how your student is progressing through the placement? Well, you can always reach out to your co-op teacher, your child's teacher. The teacher will be monitoring them, grading them, assessing their work, their reflective work, their aspirations, the way that they've been growing, if there's anything that they're struggling with, helping them along. If at any time parents have any questions, they're more than welcome to reach out to their child's teacher.
Okay, talking about specialized programs and co-op. So with the couple specialized programs that we have in our board, Specialist High Skills Major or SHSM, you may have heard it, the OEAP programs or our OEAP FAST program, co-op is actually part of, or it's required for students to complete those specialized programs. So the only difference that we would have with students that are doing the co-op as part of whether it be a SHSM or an OEAP program, is that we want the students to sort of keep their placements tied to what their program emphasis is on. So my example, again, I have a transportation background. I tell my students that if you're in a transportation SHSM, you should be looking for a placement at like a shop, an auto shop or whatnot. You're not looking for a placement at like a bakery making cupcakes. Okay, you kind of want to tie back into what you're actually sort of channeling towards the direction that you're going. Both co-op teachers and leads will help with sort of this tie back to make sure that you're able to create the learning plan that I believe it was Kevin was talking about, the learning plan, just so you can tie back to actually some learning skills and some goals while you're at that placement. On the bottom tab there, it says that OEAP hours or OEAP co-op hours can actually count towards a student's apprenticeship. So that is absolutely a possibility. It comes along with, so students that are in any sort of an apprenticeable trade would actually fill out an OEAP form with our school board, which lets them know that they're actually in one of those trades. And then if they were to continue on that path, actually seeking out an apprenticeship in that trade, they would then sign a registered trade agreement. And then they're able to sometimes, and majority of the times, they're able to capture some of those hours that they did during their co-op placement. The supervisors will actually sign them off and push those hours into their apprenticeship hours. Okay, and then summer co-op opportunities, and that's kind of, like I said, that's where sort of my field is right now. So summer co-op was really sort of put out there for students to have an opportunity to complete their 2 credit co-ops for a lot of the specialty programs and whatnot, so the OEAP and SHSM programs. So this provided another opportunity for students to be able to do it during the summer. So it happens during the month of July and kind of goes into August. Students work essentially full days. So they are expected to be at a placement from Monday to Friday, for 8 hours a day, because it is generally a 4 to 5 week program. So things are happening a lot quicker, but they're actually there for the full day. I often tell students that it is a good experience, just in that it gives them that full day, day in the life of that career or that occupation. You get to see things that happen in the morning as well as the things that happen in the afternoon. Sometimes students, when they're in the morning or afternoon ones, they'll miss certain aspects to a day and what happens there. One of the big advantages of the summer co-op is that it does help to free up some of the space during the regular school year for students to fill in with other courses, required courses they need to take, because sometimes they feel a little bit rushed if they have to do a lot of their specialty courses as well as doing the 2-credit co-op during the regular school year. There, in terms of dates, like I said, I have right there listed that it usually runs in the month of July. Just depending on where sort of the long weekend falls is sort of how they start the program and where it ends up into. I don't have any dates to share with anybody right now, and I know a lot of students have already reached out to me inquiring about that. I should have more information even in the next couple weeks, but any sort of information like that where students are going to be registering for summer co-op, I would make it available to all the guidance departments at all the schools. And then I also, any students that have reached out to me, I actually send them or push forward like a Google Classroom that they can join, and all the information gets put into that area.
So now that you know all about co-op and your student is thinking about putting it into their schedule, or maybe they already have. So co-op, when you add this course, this is going to be added exactly like you would in any other course selection model for students. So it's typically a grade 11 and 12 course. So the idea is if a student is going from grade 10 into grade 11, they would select this course through their normal course selection process on My Blueprint. And then once schools have those kind of intentions for the course, they will talk to students about what kind of co-op and what they're thinking about, doing some maybe intake interviews or doing a survey to see what their areas of interest are. When we're thinking about the summer co-op, Mark was just mentioning about those summer co-op programs for those specialized programs. So a SHSM, an OYAP, or a student success model. The information for the application for those programs will be March and April, and those happen through Gary Allen Learning Center. So that's actually not facilitated by your home school. It's something that's facilitated by Gary Allen, but that will be a little bit of a different process. And then if course selection does close and students are wanting to shift into the program, so maybe their goals have changed, their direction has changed, or they heard about this amazing thing and they watched the live stream, they can go to their guidance counselor and with caregiver approval, make that course change if it makes sense for them based on all the other requirements they need for graduation. So just like any other course, it's going to be under the guidance and career education section in their course selection and blueprint. And students can go through and do that there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much to Mark and Kevin and Brona for providing that rundown of all things tied to co-op. I hope that provided a great foundation for viewers to better understand what the co-op program has to offer. I'm very excited now to be able to start the panel portion of our session tonight. So I will ask our panelists to turn their cameras on and be ready to engage in our questions. Tonight we have 4 HDSB Co-op students as well as 4 HDSB Co-op employers here to talk a little bit more about their experiences. Again, as much as we can share all of the nuts and bolts of what the co-op program has to offer, there's something very important, I think, in the students' decision making when they get to hear directly from those critical partners in the process, and that is our employers. We could not run our co-op programs without their support. And we have 4 fantastic employers here tonight to share, as well as those students. So we're going to alternate between questions for students and questions for the employers. And I will call on everyone to provide their answer to the questions so that you get to hear about all of their experiences. So we're going to start with question number 1. And that question is, please provide a brief overview of your co-op placement. I'll ask everyone to do a brief introduction as well when they speak. And we're going to start with Yosef.
All right. Hello. Does this work?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi. My name is Yosef. I go to Elsie McGill Secondary School. I took co-op last year. And my placement, I went to a Hunt Chrysler dealership and auto shop for a 2 co-op afternoon co-op. And, you know, what was kind of unexpected, it was a very loud and welcoming place. There were many techs that were very open to helping. And what I really enjoyed is that they put in a lot of effort and were a great part of this course. You know, they were really trying, they were really trying their hardest to help us learn. Like, they were really a part of it. Like, I would have people go up to me, they would ask me to take pictures of things even when I was helping with something else, like overall. And sorry. All right. They were.
That's great, Joseph.
Sorry,
So
sorry. Yeah.
that's
it's just,
okay. No problem. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
It's unexpectedly welcoming. They're a great cast of people, and they're there to help you. It was a great time.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Perfect. And Ife, we'll ask you to share your co-op experience.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ife Akinloye, and I'm a grade 12 student at Milton District High School. So during my time in high school, I've had the privilege of taking co-op twice and learning in the GTA at three different placements. At all three of these experiences, they were all in healthcare-related environments, ranging from observing procedures at Milton District Hospital to researching surgical robotics at Sick Kids Hospital in downtown Toronto. Most recently, I actually completed my placement under Dr. Matthew Brace, who is a dual certified otolaryngologist and plastic surgeon. My time was split between two environments throughout this co-op. I first worked at Guelph General Hospital, where I observed a wide range of procedures, including skin cancer removals. Second, I worked at its independent cosmetic practice, where I witnessed complex aesthetic and reconstructive surgeries, including facelifts, rhinoplasties, and even forehead reductions. I also had the opportunity to learn from medical residents and anesthesiologists. Overall, these experiences have been invaluable and have given me a really comprehensive look as to how doctors and researchers operate within the broader Canadian healthcare system.
That is amazing, Ife. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing Dr. Ife on an office one day when I walk by. Thank you very much. That's great. We're going to pass it over now to E-Ray.
Yeah, for sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ire Adetunji, and I'm a grade 12 student at Elsie McGill Secondary School with Mr. Rourke and Yusuf. And my placement, I took co-op last year, and I had a morning placement at the Milton District Hospital in the medical surgical unit, which is a fast-paced hospital environment that provided care for adult, geriatrics, and sometimes pediatric patients with a wide range of acute or chronic conditions. Often, most of the patients in the unit would be admitted after surgery, and my main role was to aid the staff in any way possible. I did this by restocking PPE and linen cabinets, restocking the nurse stations and IV kits, as well as maintaining the nutrition and visitor rooms, and as well as answering call bells from patients and completing requests when I can. Obviously, there was limits as to my age and how I'm a student. But overall, it was great because I was able not only to connect with the staff on the floor and in the hospital, but as well as to the patients and the families of the patients as well.
Fantastic. Another doctor. I can see it. Fantastic. Thank you so much, E-Ray. Or something in healthcare, which may remain to be seen. Thank you for sharing. We're going to go over now to Giovanna as our final student speaker for this question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Giovanna, and I'm a grade 12 student at Milton District High School. So I had the great pleasure of taking co-op just this past semester at Sterling Montessori Academy in Milton. So what that entailed was kind of me being a French teaching assistant. So I got to come in and teach the little kids French. They operate at a preschool branch as well as an elementary branch, ranging from the 1st to 4th grade. So that would just entail kind of me coming in every morning, getting them situated, helping them kind of facilitate some independent learning, correcting some of their work, speaking with them, supporting them in snack times, outdoor play, and teaching them French lessons as well, which was pretty cool.
Amazing. Thank you, Giovanna. A fellow future educator, it sounds like. So thank you for sharing that experience. And we're going to move over now to our employers. So our first question for our employers is, please provide a brief overview of your business and your experience as a co-op employer. And again, we'll ask you to introduce yourself to start. And we're going to begin with Ashley.
I need slippers and I can't find mine, so I'm gonna borrow. It's perfect timing.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi. So my name is Ashley. I'm the owner and founder of the Slime Lab in Milton. So we are a hands-on sensory play experience for children. We operate mostly in a fairly fast-paced customer service environment. During the week when our co-op students join us, it's more behind the scenes organization and daily operations is what they get to take a look at and learn and observe and see firsthand. I've had a few co-op students over the last probably 2.5 years now, and I've found it to be a very rewarding experience. It's fun to watch a student come in and kind of learn and evolve over the few week period that you have with them. And they become a full member of the team, right? So they're not just observers, they become very useful resources in the business.
Thank you, Ashley. And Martin, we're going to pass it over to you now.
Hi, everybody. My name is Martin Borowski. I am the CEO and founder of Rezo.ai. Where we help job seekers as a career co-pilot, also as a practice platform to get hired faster. We also work with students, help them prepare for co-op placements using our AI software for mock interviews to help them gain more confidence, reduce anxiety, and articulate better answers. My co-op experience has been wonderful. We've had about, I believe, 12 co-ops in the last 12 months. Love the experience, love working with them. I think seeing their approach, bringing fresh ideas is very big to us, especially as a tech startup. So, and their young minds are very tech involved. So this is always a great thing to see. And also ultimately giving them that kind of real job feel and with real responsibilities is also very beneficial to them.
Great. Thank you so much, Martin. And Patrick, over to you.
Hey guys, big shoes to fill there. This is the future, right? So my name is Patrick Beatty. I'm the owner and chef of Resposta Bistro. I opened the restaurant about 9 years ago. Since opening, we've won 3 diamonds, which puts us among top 100 restaurants in Canada. And I've been fortunate to travel and gain all my experience. The day-to-day operation is a little wild in our restaurant. We have our own farm. We tap our own maple trees. We have beehives. We work with everything local, and we put a huge emphasis on sustainability, which at this point in our current climate is very important, not just as Canadians, but as humans. So that's kind of what we push, and that's a movement with an ever-changing menu. Sometimes we change the menu 3 times a week based on what's seasonally available. And with the co-op students, I've had 2 now, and they've been absolutely amazing for me. They become assets, and that's in the morning when they get in, just the enthusiasm, the quest to learn. We have a very open kitchen when it comes to conversation about current trends, what's going on. Obviously, Instagram's a big thing, Facebook. So we're constantly up to date with new trends, but even the students will come in with things they've seen and whatnot. And so that outlook to the food and the development of new menus and ideas is great. The kids help out, the students, sorry, they're not kids. The students help out from the gardening to menu development to live cooking. We do our own cured meats here. We make our own cheese. So there's a little bit of science behind it, and it's just been absolutely incredible. And both of my students ended up getting jobs with me. So it's been awesome thus far.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Patrick. And finally, over to you, Destiny.
Hi there. My name is Destiny Anderson. I'm the spa coordinator over at Total Skin and Body Spa here in Milton. We're actually the longest running spa in Milton. We were the first ever. We just celebrated our 40-year anniversary. With my responsibility and role at the spa, it's my responsibility to oversee and supervise any of the co-op students that we get. We've had quite a bit since I've been there. I've been there 4 years now. And yeah, it's been a really great experience. We've had a lot of really great students come in, and it's nice to see their passion take root, really, and to see their progress from when they come in and when they leave. And I know that my boss, Jill, she actually has had a lot of past co-op students come and work for her after. So and they're really great. They're great.
Thank you so much. All right, back to our students. Our second question for our students: why did you decide to take co-op in the first place? And this time we're going to start with Giovanna.
So, as a student who took the healthcare and wellness SHISM, it was a requirement, but I always say that I definitely had the absolute pleasure of actually taking co-op. But what really interested me was healthcare in general, but we did have a course that kind of centered human development and gerontology. So we learned a lot about different social determinants of health and different factors that really impacted education as well, obviously being in school. So I was curious to see how the Montessori system kind of differed from the public system that we find ourselves in right now. So that's kind of why I reached out to different Montessoris, and I landed in Sterling Montessori, and got to really see some of the different theories and things that I learned in school kind of applied in real life. So that was very cool.
Thank you so much. And E-Ray, the question now goes to you.
Yeah, for sure. Me as well. I'm in the health and fitness wellness SHISM at LC McGill. But additionally, I did want to explore my interest, and I knew that I had an interest and passion for serving other people in our community. So I wanted to find a way to translate that passion into a future career. So I did apply to the hospital thinking that it would be a great start to get to see what a glimpse is like in the healthcare. And initially I was really opposed to nursing. When I was watching the nurses in the unit, I was like, maybe this isn't very for me. But as I went through my placement, I was able to shadow people like the speech pathologist and the child life specialists. And on top of that, I got to see like a glimpse of the occupational therapists, nutritionists, and doctors that went into the patient units. And I kind of were able to listen to their conversations. And overall, this kind of changed my perspective. And I did make the decision to go into healthcare because of co-op, even when initially I was really open to anything.
Fantastic. Thank you, E-Ray. And Ife, questions now for you.
So I decided to take co-op because I didn't really know how my passions in high school could grow into a professional career, if that makes sense. I specifically am really interested in engineering, technology, and medicine, but I didn't want to just choose one path blindly. I really wanted to see how they connected in a real-world environment. Co-op definitely was the answer to this dilemma. I've seen surgical robots working on real patients, and I've contributed to the creation of similar devices through my experiences at Sick Kids doing research. These experiences didn't just teach me skills, but they also confirmed that I don't really have to choose between my passions. I don't have to pick between them. It really showed me that I can find a fulfilling career at the intersection of these fields, and I'm so grateful for that realization.
Great. Amazing. Thank you. And finally, back to you, Joseph, for this second question.
Yeah, so as someone like myself who was sort of indecisive about my future, grade 11, you're starting your senior and junior years, and you sort of have to decide where your career path should be. I didn't really know what courses to pick, and I didn't really know how to pick my future. I kind of knew that I wanted to do something in the trades, but not really much past there. So finding a course like co-op seemed like a great opportunity for me. It eased off the stresses of a regular course because it didn't really require the studying that a regular course would. And it would greatly support my resume with experience and enhancement of my skills. And it would also give me a chance to see what a work environment is like compared to the school, because it is really an incredible difference. Rather than a teacher, you just have coworkers that are there for you. So overall, it just felt like it would really support my decision in the future. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Great. Thank you, students. Those are amazing answers. Back to our employers. Next question is, why did you decide to serve as a co-op employer? And this time we're going to start with Destiny.
So aside from my boss always wanting to take on any co-op student that is willing to learn, I personally think it's important to give the students hands-on real-life experiences. You can learn theory in classroom and gain lots of knowledge from that. But with co-op, you get real life experience with real life scenarios and hands-on work. And I think that's really important.
Thank you. Oops, sorry. I shouldn't have advanced my slides. Patrick, you're next. Thanks.
So first off, I myself was a co-op student, and that helped me pursue my career. And then I had the chance to do my co-op from college for Gordon Ramsay in New York City back in 2009, many years ago. But so that whole idea of passing on the knowledge and strengthening the hospitality professionals has been something that's really important to me since I was 17 years old coming through this industry, and helping these kids learn the proper standards of an industry that is a bit of a wild west. So to take something good that I've learned and then pass it on to the next generation is all part of the process. And that's the most important part for us at our restaurant.
Thank you. Martin, over to you.
For me, it's also giving back to the community. It's also a co-op experience. It's something I wish I had myself in high school. I love to help and mentor. So providing co-ops with that kind of real life experience, kind of throwing them into the fire a little bit, giving that real marketing position experience or developer position experience where they're actually involved with a team. I think that's something that's very important.
Thank you. And finally, Ashley.
I really believe that students benefit from real world and workplace experience outside of the classroom. A lot of students don't know yet exactly what they enjoy, or they have an idea, but haven't really had a chance to put that into practice. And I have my own kids in the education system. I would hope that these type of opportunities would be available to them, for them to learn and be really sure, or a little more sure about what it is that they want to do moving forward. I know that my early work experiences had a huge impact on me and where I went moving forward. So I wanted to offer that to students.
Perfect answers. Thank you so much, everybody. Back to our students, we'll ask you to just give us a quick sort of glimpse into your answers for both of these questions. First question is, what have been the greatest benefits you've reaped from your co-op experience? And what has been the greatest challenge you faced, and how did you overcome it? So again, this time we're going to start with Yosef.
Yeah, okay. So the greatest benefits I think I received from the co-op were the enhancement of my overall skills and comfortability at workplace. I think the greatest challenge I faced was my overall comfortability in the environment. It's a new place, so it was a little scary with people almost twice or three times my age. Some of the workers would tease me a bit due to the fact that I was a bit quiet and didn't talk as much. But the longer I was there, the better it felt to talk to everybody, the more comfortable I got with asking questions and just making small talk with everybody. So, just the length of the course helped me overcome the small issue of just getting used to a new environment. And that's how it's going to be with getting into a new work and when you finally get there. And so it's really good to prepare you for that, which benefit of co-op, obviously.
Absolutely. So insightful. Thanks, Yosef. Ife, over to you.
For me, I think the biggest benefits of co-op definitely revolve around the mature passion I really now have for the healthcare industry. At Sick Kids, I learned about the precision of engineering and how the rigorous academic process behind medical devices actually makes these devices available to people worldwide. With Dr. Brace at Guelph, I learned about the art of surgery and how business realities of the Canadian healthcare system affect both professionals and everyday people. And seeing such contrasting sides of healthcare has made me so much more aware of the multitude of pathways available for me. And it's also given me a deeper understanding of the courses that I learned at school. For example, I was able to get highest average in both grade 11 and 12 biology in my entire school, which I definitely attribute to the experiential application of seeing science concepts used in the operating room. In terms of the challenges that I've experienced through co-op, I've definitely had to become more articulate and learn to communicate with adults and mentors professionally, which has also been an invaluable skill to learn.
Thank you very much, Ife. And E-Ray, same two questions for you.
For sure. So I think the main thing, the main benefit that I got from doing my co-op was learning how to be professional, as well as defining my passion, similar to what Ife said, in serving people. And learning professionalism, knowing how to write the right emails, send or like pick up a call in sick, all these things seemed like minuscule things, but they're very, very important. And knowing how to articulate myself in a professional way helped me land a summer internship as well at Sick Kids. So doing that and networking through that, I did not know a single thing about networking or even how to talk to an adult in the workforce until I took co-op. And then additionally to this, having all this background, learning from co-op has also landed me a part-time job this year as well. And I think that the greatest challenge that I faced during co-op was initially how to communicate with those around me. Again, like Yusuf said, I was quite shy and I kind of stuck to the wall in the hospital, but growing familiar with one or two nurses helped me get pushed out of my comfort zone, as well as seek and ask questions that maybe I was curious about, or being able to shadow other people. And I saw that just these skills of even though you may label yourself as an introvert or whatever, just these few skills of knowing how to network really push you forward, because as people say, your network is your net worth.
Love that. I'm going to use that. Thanks so much, Ire. And Giovanna, these questions for you.
So I would say that one of my greatest benefits, although there are endless benefits to taking co-op, and I could say especially in my case, was I was particularly interested in pediatrics. And I noticed a lot in pediatrics just from my own personal experience that sometimes we forget that the kids are the patients. So learning how to communicate with kids, I really wanted to throw myself in an environment where I had to kind of force myself to look at something that I was pretty well versed in, which is French, as I've been in the immersion program since the first grade, and kind of make it so that I was able to explain it to kids that had never experienced it before. And I think that's definitely a transferable skill when it comes to the field of pediatrics as well. So the greatest benefit was definitely being able to communicate effectively with these kids and really see them learn French and understand French and use it. And that was really cool. When it comes to the greatest challenge, I would say hand in hand with that communication, I was actually in a class with those who aren't familiar with how the Montessori system works. There are different CASAs or classes, but they aren't age specific. There are 2 to 3 year olds in one class and so on and so forth. And there was a young girl and her name was Emily, and she did not speak any English as she was coming from a home that primarily spoke Spanish. So knowing how to kind of pick up on her cues and her body language and learning different forms of communication was super powerful and definitely a challenge, but definitely very rewarding as well.
That's so great. Thank you very much. Back to our employers, we're going to ask them what the greatest benefits are that they've reaped as a co-op employer and a challenge perhaps that you faced and how you overcame it. So we'll start with Ashley.
Co-op students bring fresh energy and enthusiasm into the workplace. It was mentioned, kids kind of being a little bit more in touch with current trends and I don't know, I hear the term, it's a vibe. So they bring new ideas and fresh thoughts, and it's fun. It's a fun collaborative type environment. I do find it very beneficial to us as employers. It's fun watching the growth in real time, watching someone's confidence increase, as they learn more responsibility, better communication. And it was also mentioned before, and I've experienced this as well, as co-op students sometimes become some of our best long-term hires. So I just find it very rewarding to help students develop the soft skills required to succeed in the workplace, and to expand their knowledge and leave with a better understanding of what their skills are, what drives them, and what they're really interested in. Help them narrow down their focus and decide how they want to move forward and take that experience on. So I find that to be a benefit. It's really fun to watch. Maybe a challenge might be like as an employer considering taking on a co-op student, the upfront time investment. There's a time investment in onboarding someone and training them to become part of the team. But that's an interesting part as well, getting to know someone and getting to know how you might be able to help them, leave with the best experience. It's going to be helpful to them in their education. And it might be challenging as well, maybe if they're not really sure what they want to get at a co-op yet. So then it's that fact-finding mission of what they're there for, and how we can help them grow. But that's all. It's interesting and rewarding as well.
Amazing. Thank you, Ashley. And Martin, over to you.
Yeah, same. I love to hear the new ideas, right? How they would approach a marketing or a software problem in our situation. Seeing the kind of different takes they have on a solution and the creativity that they bring. Absolutely huge fan of that. When it comes to challenges, sometimes students need to be a little bit more engaged. So what we try to do in those situations is have daily catch-up meetings, discuss problems like our company might be facing, getting them more involved in the process. That gets them really more, getting that more of a responsibility going on, that hey, they might be responsible to somebody else that might be involved in what they're working on. So that's one of the challenges we faced, and that's how we solved them.
Thanks, Martin. Patrick.
So I can't say the same thing, so I got to change it up. They keep us young, and they really do. Coming in with obviously enthusiasm, new ideas, curiosity, and also motivation, because they're there to learn. My last two students, I can't speak for every student, but that's kind of the experience I've had with them. And they get our team switched on too, because it's something new for us. We get the opportunity to train and potentially get an employee out of it, or maybe one of these students are going to go on to conquer the culinary scene, and they'll shout us out one day. So it's always cool to think about it like that. Obviously, some of the issues can be balancing, mentoring while there's a service going on, or while there's deadlines or hard targets that have to be met. So we kind of find that the best way to compensate for that is treating the students as developing professionals. And what I mean by that is they're not there for general labor. None of my students have even touched the dish pit, because that's not where they're best utilized. We set clear goals. We provide constructive feedback, either myself, my sous chef, or my chef de partie. And we involve students in meaningful tasks that keep them going. So that's kind of how we work with it.
Awesome. Thank you, Patrick. And Destiny, over to you.
Yeah, so I think that part of co-op is that it's a bit of a trade-off for both parties. While the student comes to get real-life industry knowledge and experience, the employer and staff get an extra pair of hands to help around the workplace. It's always nice to have extra help once the students get the hang of everything. In terms of greatest challenge, most of the time when we get a co-op student, it's their first ever job. Which is to be expected. They're young teens, right? So it can be difficult to help them navigate what it's like to have a job, and help them learn things that may be like basic knowledge to other people, but completely new to them. But after having so many co-op students come to us, it's just something that you learn to navigate, and it's totally fine. It just means spending more time with them, maybe near the beginning, which is totally fine.
Great. Thank you so much. And we're going to move over to our last question, which is similar for both our students and employers. I'm going to challenge everyone to give a 20-second response. Just as I watch our time, I know we're creeping closer to 8 and we still have some questions to get to. So just a brief response. Giovanna, we'll start with you. What advice would you give to a student who's considering taking co-op in the future?
First and foremost, I would say stop considering and put it into your schedule. It's definitely a course that you're never going to regret taking, and really immerse yourself when you get there. You never know what it's going to lead to, what connections you're going to make. I certainly didn't know what it was going to lead to, but this summer I have a paid position. So it's such a great asset, and it's definitely something that will only strengthen your skills and your future.
E-Ray.
For sure, my one advice to future co-op students is that don't be stubborn in looking for a placement, as well as when you land yourself that placement, don't be stubborn and keep to yourself in it as well. I think that the one thing that will do you the most disservice is being steadfast on one singular placement that you're eyeing, even though you may find great things that another one may be offered to you as well. And for sure, just keep open at your placement because there'll be opportunities that'll surprise you there as well.
Amazing advice. Thank you. Ife.
I would definitely focus on using co-op to advocate for yourself and also using it as a way to kind of stress test your interests. Really don't think of it as like just a credit. Go in with like a specific curiosity about a field or place of work that you're interested in and how that place works. Whether it's something like aviation or medicine, use the time to explore these intersections with your passions because you really can't get the same level of real life exposure inside of a classroom.
Fantastic. I couldn't have written this better myself. Thank you. And Yosef, you get to close out our last question for our students.
Yeah. So like the simplest advice I could give to new co-op students is to treat it like any other course, which is with basic respect. So, you know, some students don't find as much success due to the fact they don't even put a fraction of the effort they would into other courses. Like you wouldn't take a math or a science and just not show up one day or not turn in your work. So a lot of your success relies on yourself and your ability to be open. It's really different, but it's a great opportunity, which you should really give a chance. And when you understand that, you're already halfway there to being successful. So.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yosef. And over again to our employers, your briefest advice. What would you tell a fellow employer who's considering taking co-op students in the future? Destiny, we'll start with you.
I would say just give them everything you can. I view it from the perspective of teaching the next generation of your career, and passing on knowledge and passion is so necessary. You know, help stoke the flames of something they are passionate about. And remember that used to be you, and give them all the information you wish you had when you were at the early stages of your career. And you could be the difference that changes the trajectory of a student's passion. And I think that's really special.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Patrick?
Going with an open heart, open mind, be ready to be a mentor, communicate your expectations clearly. And then I just wrote a little quote here, not a quote so much, but, and I found this true to myself and my students so far. When supported properly, students rise to the responsibility. So at the end of the day, you know, give them the tools, but seriously consider it, because not only are you enriching their life and helping them make life decisions, you're also enriching yourself. So I highly recommend it to anyone thinking about it.
Thank you, Patrick. And Martin?
Yeah, make it as real as possible. Make them sweat a little bit. That's one big. Integrate them into the process. Give them responsibility and accountability. The last thing you want to do is give them some sort of a side project and then check in once in a while on them. It just won't be beneficial to anybody.
Well said. Thank you. And Ashley, you have the last word.
I'd say if you're on the fence, give it a try and just be clear about your expectations. So students want to do well, but they need guidance. And co-op students bring more value than some employers might expect.
Well said. Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate it. Our students and our employers, you've added so much to tonight's session. So thank you very much. To wrap, I wanted to just point our families and students that are watching to some really valuable co-op resources that are available to you. We do have a cooperative education page on HDSB.ca. You'll find a multitude of resources there, including an overview video of the cooperative education program. In the last year, we've created some really cool co-op shorts, which showcase students and employers. Destiny, I think you may be a part of one of these, if I'm remembering correctly, for Total Skin and Body Spa. But these are such great little glimpses into student experiences at their placements. We've produced a student and family postcard and additional resources that I hope are really helpful. So that's a great place to check out. Just wanted to remind everyone of that. And we never know who might be watching us. So calling all future co-op employers as well. We often do have employers in Halton Region reaching out saying we would love to have a co-op student. Please know that we do have a co-op employer handbook on hdsb.ca on our cooperative education page. We have a form there where interested employers can indicate that they would like an outreach to be able to talk about the co-op program. And you can also contact me directly, and I've provided my email there if I can be of any assistance in providing more insight into what co-op has to offer. So again, for students, what are the next steps? So we've talked about choosing co-op while you're completing your course selection in my blueprint, meeting with guidance to discuss your interest in co-op, and of course your co-op teachers in your building are very valued resources to talk about what co-op is all about and possibilities for your placement. And then it's really about starting to explore what that placement might be. Of course, figuring out those transportation plans, how will you get back and forth, and those logistical pieces. But again, lots of support to help you as you navigate those next steps. We recognize that we're a little bit over time. We're going to take about 5 minutes to address some of the questions that have come in from our viewers. We thank them so much for those that have come in. I'm just going to jump over for a minute to our form and get to as many of them as I can. So there's a question here for students interested in co-op. Is there a benefit to taking it in grade 11 versus grade 12? What are the pros and cons of each? So I'm going to direct this one back to our co-op teachers and ask one of them to jump in with their thoughts on that question.
I'll answer that one.
Sure, Kevin.
I say take co-op as often as you can. Sometimes I have repeat customers of co-op students. It's a great way to determine if you actually want to do a career. Because if you think about it, the entire time you're at school, multiply that by about 3, and that's how long you're in your career. And you want to make sure that you're making a good choice. So getting that experience really helps you either go, this is totally for me, or you know what, I think I want to try something different. So it really is up to your own student, whether it's grade 11 or 12, but then you could try 2 different placements and really nail it down. That's my 2 cents.
Absolutely. I will throw in there too, as a guidance counselor, I will say that for some students that are university bound, they sometimes find that it is easier to include it in grade 11, and it really depends on that student's pathway. If you're university bound in grade 12, there will be 6 grade 12 U or M credits that are needed for university admission. Sometimes students find it tricky to fit a 2-credit co-op in around that. I mean, you've heard from grade 12 students now, so certainly it can be done, but that sometimes is a consideration. Again, I love Kevin's answer in that there's really no negatives, but sometimes student pathway planning helps to determine the best fit for co-op. And again, your co-op teacher and guidance counselor can support you with that decision making. So thank you. Another question here, are students allowed to split the credit for co-op across 2 terms, 1 in each term? That is certainly not typical. It is possible. The challenge of that is if a student is doing a 1-credit co-op, that means that they are really spending a period, at most an hour and a half, at their placement. It's pretty difficult to get to and from that placement, be there for probably less than 90 minutes, and have that really in-depth experience, and then get back to your other courses. So it does happen, it's possible, but it's not a very common scenario. Most students would do a 2-credit co-op, and again, some will do even more than that, such as a 4-credit or all-day co-op. So just wanted to address that. Other questions that are here, I also see a question about how does co-op work differently for students in SHISM? Are there different deadlines or extra details that SHISM students need to know? And Brona, I think I'm going to pass that one over to you.
Yeah, so for the SHISM programs, as Mark mentioned at the beginning, they are required, and students have the privilege of taking that as part of that experience to strengthen their knowledge. For students in SHISM versus not in SHISM, I wouldn't say it's different. I think the difference is really trying to tailor as much as the student can to that specialized program that they're trying to be, that they are involved in. The benefit of that is when students are trying to think about workplaces, if the student can find the connection to the SHISM they're doing, that in itself is a valuable experience. So if they can say, I'm in this and I wanted to pursue this workplace and here's the connections, ultimately that's the goal. Students are trying to say, here's the course or program I'm in, here's the workplace that I'm currently working, and here are the connections between the two. That's what everyone's doing. The SHSM just have a little bit more specific criteria because they're really trying to tailor those focus courses to those topics in that SHSM program.
Great. Thank you so much, Brona. And we obviously heard from some SHSM students tonight too, which is great. There's been a couple questions about sort of alternative options for co-op in terms of, you know, what that might look like: evening co-op, military co-op. Again, I'll ask our co-op teachers, does anyone want to jump in to speak to any of those alternative methods? In addition, of course, we've talked about summer co-op, but these are some other options for students.
I can speak to that if you'd like. So there is, so summer co-op is connected to SHSM and OYAP, as we were discussed. There is option of night school co-op. I don't know how many students in a traditional high school setting usually take that because it is an additional workload, but it is also an option for students. And when they were talking about the 4-credit co-op, so 4-credit co-ops are an option for everyone, but there are specific programs that they want that full day commitment. So for example, military co-ops, they're joining for a 4-credit and they're working on that. There's an example on our board with the Halton paramedic team. They're very specific that they want 4 credits because of the nature of the job, as it doesn't make sense to try and get out onto the truck halfway through the day when the team is moving around. So definitely some industry considerations, some pathway considerations, trades in particular as well. If you think about a, let's say an electrician that might be moving around from job to the job site, it doesn't make sense to do 3 hours in the afternoon when they've been working since 6 a.m. and their day is finishing, right? So there's those considerations that your co-op teacher will help guide you through that, especially when you're making those decisions. It's always good to talk to them in addition to your guidance counselor to help give you kind of some of that industry background knowledge as well that a guidance counselor may not have the experience doing when they're thinking about planning and structure of that time.
Great. Thank you, Brona. I see there's also a number of questions asking about, you know, what would placements in this sector look like, or this sector, or this sector. And while we unfortunately don't have time to address all of those, I can tell you that I really can't think of a time when a co-op teacher in our board has not been able to work with a student and family to find a meaningful placement tied to a student's interests. So I love the feedback that came from our students that it's good to not be completely hung up on a very specific type of placement. It's great to set your goals high and to work toward that, but there is valuable learning in such a diverse array of placements. And sometimes the skills you're learning, it may not even seem like it's directly the career field you want to go into, but those skills are so transferable. And sometimes you learn that in fact, it is more correlated than you may have initially thought. So while again, I can't answer all of those specific questions, I want to assure you that there are literally thousands of different placements that have happened for students across the system. We have many, many, many hundreds of employers, I might even say thousands, that have worked with students in the board, and they continue to grow. So the sky's the limit. Your co-op teacher is there to work with you to figure out a great option and to help you navigate toward a placement that's going to be really rewarding for you. I thank everyone for their questions. They are fantastic, and I wish we had more time. I do want to thank, again, our HDSB Co-op teachers, our students, and our employers for all of their valuable insight into tonight's session. We really hope that it's given you much more of a clear picture about what co-op is all about and what it has to offer, and we hope that many of you walk away considering it seriously as part of your pathway plan. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Again, the recording of tonight's session will be posted on the transition to post-secondary page on the board website in about a week's time. And we look forward to seeing you at our next session, March 4th, which will be on Skilled Trades and Technologies 101. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.